And like so many parents, we think constantly about how to embrace.
In looking forward to this very special occasion, I reflected on the importance of this achievement,
while safeguarding against its dangers and that hopeful intention of separation.
Picture this. Manhattan hotel suite, stylists running around, assistants checking their phones every 2 seconds. Publicists fine-tuning every last detail. Meghan's getting ready for what she's calling their big comeback moment. Harry's by the window looking out at the New York skyline, probably thinking this is it. This is when everyone remembers why they matter. The NYC Humanitarian Awards wanted them there. Cameras ready, headlines practically writing themselves. Everything's locked in. The outfit, the security, the exact route they're taking, even the flight, especially the flight. But then the phone rings. And just like that, someone said no. Not maybe, not we'll see, just no. Their request for a fully sponsored private jet. Denied. For a couple who's used to getting what they want, that word hit different. This wasn't about the plane, it was about respect. It was about being told they're not who they think they are anymore. And honestly, that's where this whole thing gets interesting. Quick thing, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell because what's coming next? You're gonna wanna see where this really goes. Drop a like if you're already hooked.
You mean this one?
Now let's dive in. So to really get why that jet rejection stung so bad, you gotta rewind a bit. Paris, just a few weeks before all this went down, Meghan showed up at Paris Fashion Week thinking it was gonna be her grand entrance back into the spotlight. Front row at Balenciaga, cameras everywhere, that confident chin-up pose she does. On paper, it looked perfect. Designer outfit, flashing lights, the whole scene screaming, "I'm back and you can't ignore me." But if you were actually there, the vibe was ice cold. People weren't exactly rolling out the welcome mat. Fashion Week's supposed to be about who you know, who wants to be seen with you, who's pulling you aside for photos. None of that happened. She sat there, cameras pointed her way, but the energy around her felt forced. Like everyone was acknowledging her presence without actually welcoming it. Her outfit wasn't some custom piece made just for her. It was borrowed. And here's the kicker, the tags were still on it. Now, if you know anything about the fashion world, that's basically their way of saying you're not really one of us. When you're in that circle for real.
What does it mean to be here tonight, Meghan?
Designers create pieces specifically for you. They want you wearing their vision. But borrowed clothes with tags? That's what you give to someone you're being polite to, not someone you're investing in. It's subtle, but it's brutal. Nobody hugged her. Nobody made space. Just polite smiles that didn't reach anyone's eyes and those awkward side glances that say everything without saying anything. The kind of reception that makes you feel more alone in a crowded room than if you just stayed home. Then there's the whole tunnel situation.
Meghan Markle is getting an award for fighting the dangers of social media. The irony is gold. She says
word got out pretty fast that she'd taken a drive through that specific tunnel in Paris. Yeah, that one, where Diana's life ended. The official line was, she didn't know. She wasn't aware of the location's history. But come on, people who know Meghan, they're not buying it. Paris isn't exactly a small city. You don't just accidentally end up there. Insiders started whispering almost immediately that it felt way too calculated. Like she was trying to channel some of that Diana energy to boost her own relevance. Trying to capture that same tragic, romantic mystique.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle just bagged the title of Humanitarians of the Year, but behind the glam,
They're reportedly plotting a royal peace
that still follows Diana's name decades later. Whether that's true or not doesn't really matter. The damage was done. Perception became reality. People started seeing her less as someone carving her own path and more as someone living in someone else's shadow. And that's a comparison you can't win. By the time she left Paris, sure, cameras were still clicking, but the warmth gone, the excitement nowhere to be found. It was just polite. And polite is basically the kiss of death when you're trying to prove you still matter. The fashion world moves on fast, and if you're not generating genuine buzz, you're already yesterday's news. That Paris trip should have been a win. Instead, it felt like a reminder that the door she thought was wide open was actually just cracked. So when the NYC Awards popped up on the calendar, Meghan saw it differently than everyone else. This wasn't just another event. This was her chance to flip the script, to make people forget Paris ever happened. The opportunity to remind everyone that she's still got it, that the Sussex name still carries weight. New city, new audience. New chance to control the narrative. Every single detail got planned down to the second. The glam team, the timing, the route through Manhattan, and yeah, that private jet, because showing up wasn't enough. She needed to arrive. She needed that moment where people stop and think, okay, maybe we underestimated them. The awards were supposed to be that reset button. Paris was the stumble. New York was going to be the comeback. The NYC Humanitarian Awards, they're supposed to be about impact, real impact. People who've spent years in the trenches.
You can be the visionary of your own life. You can charter a path in which
working without cameras, doing the unglamorous stuff that actually changes lives. It's not a fashion show. It's not a publicity stunt. It's meant to honor folks who give without expecting anything back. But when Harry and Meghan's team got involved, the whole thing started feeling less like a charity event and more like a carefully orchestrated comeback tour. Emails started flying, requests piled up, lighting had to be just right, flattering but not too obvious. Dressing room needed specific things, water bottles, particular brands, the kind of details that make event coordinators roll their eyes because honestly, it's supposed to be about the cause, not the comfort. But one request stood out more than the rest. They wanted their flight covered, not just any flight, a private jet fully funded by the event sponsors. Their team framed it as a necessity, not a luxury. Too many people recognize them, they said. Commercial flights mean crowds, chaos, phones in their faces, the whole circus. A private jet wasn't about comfort, it was about control, about managing the situation before it got out of hand. On the surface, maybe that makes sense. Celebrities deal with attention everywhere they go, right? But here's where it gets tricky. You're showing up to accept an award for humanitarian work, for dedicating yourself to helping others. And your first move is
Check out this clip from Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's surprise appearance yesterday in California that is already going viral. Pay close attention.
asking someone else to foot the bill for your private travel. The optics aren't great. The organizers saw it immediately. There's this massive disconnect between the message and the approach. You can't preach humility while demanding luxury. You can't talk about giving back while your hands out asking for perks. One person close to the planning put it pretty bluntly. If you want to celebrate people who serve others, maybe don't start by serving yourself first. It wasn't mean-spirited. It was just real.
We'll see you upstairs. Hey, Harry, when you go upstairs.
The foundation had other honorees showing up that night, people who'd probably never been on a private jet in their lives, people who were going to take regular flights, grab an Uber from the airport, maybe stay at a mid-range hotel, and show up ready to celebrate the work itself. Not the spotlight, not the photo op, the actual work. So when the request hit the decision-makers' desks, the conversation didn't last long. The answer came back quick and simple. Number, not happening. They weren't rude about it. They didn't make a big announcement. They just declined, kept it professional, kept it quiet.
Oh my God!
But inside the Sussex camp, that rejection landed like a bomb. Because it wasn't just about the jet anymore, it was about being treated like everyone else. And for two people who'd spent years navigating a world where their names opened every door, where accommodations were made automatically, where no wasn't really part of the vocabulary, this felt personal. Their team scrambled to reframe it, tried spinning it as a scheduling thing, maybe a miscommunication. But everyone involved knew what it really was.
No wonder Prince Harry refused to smile at Meghan on the red carpet. Her 3 recent behaviors completely infuriated him. Harry has always been
A line being drawn. A reminder that star power doesn't override common sense. Harry's team didn't just accept that no and move on. They pushed back hard. Their defense? Safety. They pointed straight to Paris, painting it as this chaotic nightmare where Meghan got hunted through the streets by photographers. Cameras everywhere, people chasing her, cars trying to keep up. The whole scene spiraling out of control like some kind of action movie.
On October 9th, Meghan Markle and Harry strutted onto the Project Healthy Minds World Mental Health Day gala stage to accept...
And look, nobody's saying dealing with paparazzi is fun. It's intrusive, it's exhausting, it can genuinely feel overwhelming when you're just trying to get from point A to point B without turning it into a spectacle. But people who were actually there in Paris, they're telling a different story. The chaos wasn't some random ambush that caught everyone off guard. It wasn't photographers coming out of nowhere, surprising her security team with an unexpected attack. The route Meghan took that day wasn't exactly a secret.
Watch closely and notice the small details that many people missed when Prince Harry and Meghan Markle arrived at the ceremony.
Word had gotten out beforehand about where she'd be, what time she'd be leaving the venue, which streets she'd probably take back to wherever she was staying. Photographers knew where to position themselves because, well, they'd been tipped off. Whether that came from her team directly or just leaked through the usual channels doesn't really matter at this point. The point is, it wasn't spontaneous. These guys didn't just happen to be in the right place at the right time. They were waiting, ready. Cameras prepped and positioned exactly where they needed to be. And when someone's route is that predictable, when the timing lines up that perfectly, it starts looking less like
Meghan Markle is sharing some insight into her and Prince Harry's parenting. The Duchess of Sussex spoke about the couple's approach to
harassment and more like coordination, like everyone knew their role in the production. And that tunnel drive, the one through Pont de l'Alma where Diana's story ended all those years ago, her team said she had no idea, that she didn't realize where she was until afterward, that nobody told her, nobody planned it. Just an unfortunate coincidence. But come on, you're in Paris, you've got a whole team handling logistics, security planning every single move down to the minute.
Did you notice Meghan Markle's chilling look at Prince Harry during the New York event? It revealed something truly unsettling.
Drivers who know the city inside and out, and somehow nobody mentioned, hey, maybe avoid that specific tunnel in a city with dozens of routes to get anywhere. You just happen to take that one? Insiders aren't buying that version of events. Not even close. The whispers started immediately. This felt deliberate, intentional, like she wanted that emotional weight, that connection to Diana's memory, to spark something in people, to remind everyone of the tragedy, the vulnerability, the loss.
Script as well, to see the Lost Screen Memorial and hear many of their children's stories tomorrow. I think it will resonate.
Whether that's what actually happened or just how it looked from the outside, the result was the same. People saw it as calculated, as someone trying to borrow significance instead of creating her own story. So, when Harry's team brought up Paris as their reason for needing the private jet to New York, it rang hollow, really hollow, because the whole safety argument falls apart when you realize the danger in Paris looked a lot more like a photo opportunity that got messy than an actual security threat. They weren't asking for privacy in New York.
Who is so deeply in love with each other that you cannot even penetrate the walls of their, what is it called when a marriage happens?
They were asking for control, the power to decide exactly how people saw them, when cameras could click, what angles got captured, who got access and who didn't. It's about curating the image down to every last detail, every frame, every moment, every headline. And when the awards committee said no, it wasn't just rejecting the cost of a plane ticket or the logistics of arranging private travel. It was rejecting that level of control, saying, we're not playing that game anymore. You show up like everyone else or you don't show up at all.
Breaking royal news. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex are being recognized as Humanitarians of the Year at the...
What made it sting even more, the Paris situation had already shown people that not every camera flash is a threat. Sometimes it's just the reflection of ambition that went too far. Sometimes the chaos is part of the plan, a feature rather than a bug. And once people start seeing it that way, once that seed of doubt gets planted, it's really hard to unsee it. Every future request for special treatment, every mention of safety concerns, every demand for accommodation gets filtered through that lens.
Here they are, the gruesome twosome in New York on Thursday night, collecting yet another meaningless humanitarian award.
Is this real or is this theater? Inside the foundation's headquarters, away from cameras and press releases, the conversation was pretty straightforward. The sponsors and organizers sat down to talk about the Sussex request. And honestly, they knew this was coming. Harry and Meghan bring attention. Nobody's denying that. Their names in the event lineup mean headlines, social media buzz, cameras showing up that might not have otherwise. That's valuable, especially for a humanitarian organization trying to get eyes on their mission. But here's the flip side. They also bring baggage, controversy, divided opinions. Half the internet loves them, the other half can't stand them, and there's not much middle ground anymore. So putting them front and center at your event means accepting all of that, not just the pretty parts. When the private jet request landed on the table, someone asked the question that needed asking. If we're covering their travel in a private jet, what message does that send to everyone else being honored that night?
Display between Charles and William breaking down in tears, and of course we are going to get to that. But I'm sorry.
You've got people showing up who've spent decades working in communities, running food banks, building schools in places most folks have never heard of. They're taking regular flights, probably coach, staying in whatever hotel fits the budget, just grateful to be recognized for the work they do. They're not asking for anything. They're just showing up. And then you've got two celebrities requesting a fully funded private jet because commercial travel is too inconvenient. The optics don't just look bad, they look tone deaf. The decision didn't take long. Everyone in that room agreed.
Guys, hold on tight, because what just went down on that NYC red carpet...
The standard applies to everyone. Doesn't matter if you're famous, doesn't matter if your name brings clicks and coverage. You show up under the same terms as everyone else, or the whole thing loses meaning. So they declined. Politely, professionally, no big announcement or public statement. Just a simple no sent back through the proper channels. To the outside world, it was invisible. Just another behind-the-scenes detail that nobody would ever hear about. But inside the Sussex camp, that no hit differently.
Single day. It's their friends and family. It's the lawmakers they meet with, the children in classrooms.
Because for years, maybe their whole lives, accommodations had been made automatically. Doors opened without asking. Special treatment wasn't requested, it was expected. And now, suddenly, someone was saying, actually, no, not this time. Scramble started immediately. Their PR team went into overdrive trying to spin it. Maybe it was a scheduling conflict. Maybe there was miscommunication somewhere down the line. Maybe the foundation misunderstood what they were asking for.
Hey guys, welcome back to RHR Jen. I'm so glad you're here. Guys, I have such a good show for you today.
But everyone who was actually involved in those conversations knew the truth. There was no confusion. The request was clear, the answer was clear, and what happened was simple. A line got drawn. Not out of spite or disrespect, just out of principle. Star power doesn't override common sense. Fame doesn't mean you get to rewrite the rules. And for the first time in a long time, Harry and Meghan were being reminded that their names alone don't guarantee special treatment anymore. That shift, it's subtle, but it's significant.
So just when you thought Meghan Markle couldn't get any more mad, she's plotting to return to the United Kingdom and working.
Because once people stop bending to accommodate you, once they start saying no without flinching, you realize the power dynamic has changed. And there's no spinning your way out of that. There's something almost sad about Harry's situation when you really think about it. He wanted to build something different, find his own path, live life on his own terms without all the noise. That was the whole point of starting fresh. But somehow, even after making that choice, he's still chasing the same validation.
Social media use. Parents who have learned legal action is possible and have the capacity to pursue it more.
Still looking for that automatic respect, that special treatment, that acknowledgement that he's someone important. The jet denial wasn't really about the plane. It was about being told he's not entitled to things that used to come without asking. And that's gotta hurt. Since building this new life, Harry's been fighting on multiple fronts. The media, the tabloids, people who don't see his version of events the way he does.
No, I don't think it is such a bad thing. I think, Kinsey, you and I have had this discussion quite a few times.
He frames it all as unfair, like the world's punishing him for wanting something different, for choosing his own way over what everyone expected. And maybe there's truth in that. Maybe some of the coverage has been harsh, maybe some of the criticism crosses lines. But here's what people on the outside are starting to say. Harry never really learned how to live without privilege. He traded one luxury lifestyle for another, sure. Swapped one set of perks for production deals and brand partnerships. But the expectations, those stayed exactly the same. The belief that doors should open, that people should accommodate, that his name carries weight just because of who he is, that never changed. That's the real story behind the NYC rejection. It wasn't personal. Nobody sat in that boardroom thinking, let's stick it to Harry and Meghan. It was simpler than that. It was a reality check. A reminder that titles, even the most powerful ones, don't mean anything if they're not backed by respect. And respect isn't something you inherit or carry with you automatically.
Katie mentioned it, Prince Harry, Meghan Markle will be honored with Project Healthy Minds Humanitarians of the Year Award at the organization.
It's something you earn. You can demand special treatment all you want, but if people don't feel like you've earned it, if they don't see substance behind the name, they're just going to say no. And there's nothing you can do about it. What's interesting is how Harry seems caught between two worlds. He wants independence, but also the recognition that came before. He wants to do things his way, but still expects people to roll out the red carpet. Freedom, but also reverence. And the world's starting to realize you can't have both.
Your popcorn, bestie, because this one's steaming hot. The kind of story that makes you gasp, clutch your pearls, and say, no way that really happened.
You can't build something completely new and still demand the old benefits. At some point, you gotta pick a lane. And the longer Harry tries to straddle both, the more situations like this are gonna happen. The more people are gonna look at his requests and think, wait, why should we? The NYC jet situation became symbolic of something way bigger. It showed that privilege has an expiration date when it's not connected to purpose. That influence fades when it's not backed by action.
It was supposed to be a glamorous night. Glitzy lights, a humanitarian award, and a red carpet in New York.
Harry and Meghan can tell their story a million different ways, spin every narrative to make themselves the heroes or the victims, but none of that changes what's happening in real time. The world's moving on, not out of hatred or anger, just out of indifference. And indifference might actually be worse. Because when people are angry, at least you're still in the conversation. When they're indifferent, you're already yesterday's news. So the night finally arrives.
The Duke and Duchess of Sussex attended the Project Healthy Minds World Mental Health Day Gala last night to accept the...
No private jet cutting through the sky, no motorcade rolling through Manhattan like something out of a movie, just a black SUV navigating city traffic like any other car on the road. Nothing that makes people turn their heads. It's quiet, almost too quiet for two people who've spent years being the center of attention. Inside that car, you gotta imagine there's this heavy silence. The kind where nobody's saying much because there's too much to process. This was supposed to be their night, the moment where everything clicked back into place.
Let's talk about the PR moment that everyone wrote about, but almost no one on.
But somewhere between the planning and the actual event, something shifted. They still get recognized when they step out. Cameras still show up, flashes still pop, but it feels different now. The energy's changed. It's not that electric buzz of excitement anymore, not that crowd pushing forward. It's more procedural, like people are there because it's their job, not because they're genuinely invested. The photographers snap their shots, check their cameras, move on to the next person.
At least he's got to say, right, we've got to keep looking forward, because the forward bit is the important bit with regard to the royal family.
No frenzy, no desperation to capture every angle. Just routine coverage of another celebrity appearance. And when you've built your whole identity around being more than just another celebrity, when you've spent years insisting you're different, special, that routine treatment stings. Their names still carry weight. They're not nobodies. When Harry and Meghan gets mentioned, people know exactly who you're talking about. But the context has shifted. It used to be admiration, fascination.
It was supposed to be a glamorous night. Glitzy lights, a humanitarian award, and a red carpet.
Now, it's more like curiosity mixed with fatigue. People are interested, sure, but not invested. They'll click on a headline if it pops up, but they're not seeking it out. The world's attention span has moved on to other things, other people, other dramas that feel fresher. What really hammers this home is the contrast. Years ago, their presence would have been the headline, the main story. Now they're part of the event, not the event itself, just another name on the program. The shift from main character to supporting cast happens gradually, then suddenly.
In the strange world of royal gossip, it doesn't take much for a whisper to turn into wildfire. One casual remark, one suspicious gap in a timeline.
And this night, pulling up in that regular SUV without the fanfare they'd requested probably felt like one of those suddenly moments. The kind where you realize something's fundamentally changed and there's no going back. Inside the venue, they smile for photos, shake hands, say the right things. From the outside, everything probably looks fine. Professional, polished, but there's gotta be this underlying awareness that the power dynamic isn't what it used to be. That their requests don't carry the same weight.
In the strange world of royal gossip, it doesn't take much for a whisper to turn into wildfire. One casual remark, one suspicious gap in a...
That no is becoming more common. The award ceremony happens, speeches get made, people clap, the night unfolds exactly as planned, just without the special accommodations they'd wanted. And maybe that's the real point. Life goes on, events happen, the world keeps turning, with or without the private jet. So, yeah, the jet never took off, no private aircraft, no red carpet arrival that stops traffic. Just a regular ride like everyone else. That grounded jet became the perfect symbol of what happens.
Congrats on your award.
When privilege loses its connection to purpose. You can have the biggest name in the room, but if people don't see value beyond the headlines, the shine wears off fast. Harry and Meghan have spent years controlling their narrative, telling their side, making sure everyone knows what they've been through. Some of that resonates. But there's a growing number who are just tired. Not angry, just done. They've heard the story. And at some point, you start wondering, what are they actually building beyond the narrative? Attention has a shelf life. People move on. And when you've built everything on staying relevant, that shift hits different. The applause gets quieter, more polite, until one day the room's half empty. Here's the real question. When cameras aren't flashing as bright, when your name doesn't automatically open doors anymore, what's left? What do you stand for when nobody's watching? The NYC jet situation is small, but it's symbolic. You can't demand respect. You can't force relevance.
Charles a photo of Archie and Lilibet during their private meeting a few weeks back. Do you think there's a chance of a peace deal happening?
And you can't live off your name forever without backing it up. Headlines aren't the same as legacy. They're not the same as respect. And they're definitely not the same as second chances. Those are running out, not because people are against them, but because the fatigue has set in. Once indifference replaces interest, it's hard to turn it around. The jet stayed grounded that night. But maybe in a way, so did they. Stuck between who they used to be and who they're trying to become. With the world watching just a little less closely every time. So that's the story behind the grounded jet. Wild, right? If you made it this far, drop a like and let me know in the comments what you think about all this. Are Harry and Meghan still relevant, or has the world really moved on? I want to hear your take. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button and turn on notifications, because we've got more stories like this coming your way. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's next. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.